As Catholics, we take our civic duty to vote and to be engaged in public life seriously. It is not only a privilege that we get to vote for our elected officials, but a responsibility. A responsibility, given the choice in candidates most years, that many would prefer not to have. But just because the candidates for a given position don't perfectly represent Catholic values doesn't mean that we should abstain from voting or that it doesn't matter who we vote for. What does the Church say about voting in this upcoming election, and how should we go about making our decisions? This is Catholicism in Focus. As Catholics, we stand for many things. We are a people of peace and justice, of charity and responsibility, of family and morality. We believe that God has a vision for how the world should be, and that it is our responsibility, in part, to make it happen. If only there was a candidate that stood for all the things we do. In every election, we are forced to choose between candidates that get some things right and some things wrong. It's probably safe to say that every candidate on every ballot stands for something we can endorse, while also standing for something that we find problematic. So what do we do? Rather than disengage from the process, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops publishes a voter guide each election to help inform our consciences, giving us a framework to best prioritize our values. This year, the bishops identify 6 priorities that should get extra attention. 1. Human life issues like abortion and euthanasia. These are the areas where the dignity of human life are most easily overlooked or even discarded, and recent years have seen major steps in the wrong direction for Catholics. Which candidate will do more to protect the most vulnerable? 2. Religious liberty. The Constitution protects the free practice of religion, and this needs to be safeguarded, not just for Catholics, but for people of all faiths. As secularism continues to creep into our country, it's become easier and easier to step on the autonomy of religious people to practice their faith freely. What will happen to religious practice under each candidate? 3. Marriage. In recent years, the concept of marriage has been redefined, unsettling the foundation of both family and society. Which candidate best models and promotes family living? 4. The growing disparity between rich and poor. Since the 1980s, wealth inequality has skyrocketed in this country. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer, with the middle class largely disappearing. Who will support the needs of the poor and workers' rights and eliminate factors that lead to poverty? 5. Care for undocumented immigrants. Everyone in America agrees that the current immigration system is broken. Desperate people are fleeing here for asylum where they provide an essential component to our economy while enjoying no benefits or protections under the law. Which candidate will provide the most humane solution to this problem? And 6. War, terror, and violence. Israel and Ukraine threaten the safety of our world, and guns in our schools continue to unsettle our society. While violent crime rates have been dropping in this country since the early 1990s, much more needs to be done. Who will be the calm, peaceful force to bring peace? 6 critical questions that, unfortunately, cannot be answered in favor of any one candidate. And so what do we do if we are still faced with such a dilemma, when a candidate may be great for ending abortion, but horrible for people in poverty? When a candidate may do wonders for undocumented immigrants, but damage to religious liberty? The bishops encourage us to consider 3 overarching principles. First, it is critical that we remember our responsibility to respect the dignity of human life. From the very beginning, we have known that human life is special. In Genesis chapter 1, we read that human beings were created in the image and likeness of God, meaning that every life is marked with indelible worth. Our worth comes not from what we do, but from what God has done in us. Meaning that all humans, no matter the race, religion, nationality, wealth, age, usefulness, or even behavior, are afforded certain rights that must be protected. Every life matters. And since every life matters, there must be an attention given to the second point, the common good. As human beings, we are inherently social creatures, interconnected in society, dependent on each other. The way we act as individuals has an effect on the people around us. When we engage in politics, then, it is not permissible to seek benefits only for ourselves. We must consider how policies affect society as a whole, with particular attention given to the poor and vulnerable, those who are least able to defend themselves. Sometimes we need to make personal sacrifices so that others may flourish. We do this, as the bishops suggest as their third point, because we have a responsibility to form our consciences and participate in the civic life of this nation. This requires a number of considerations, such as the teachings of the Church itself. While our consciences may be deeply personal, they are not subjectively oriented, but must be oriented towards the foundational truths of the divine revelation found in sacred scripture and tradition, and the magisterial teachings handed down from the teaching authorities themselves. These teachings cannot live in a vacuum, but must be exercised, which means understanding the particular issues of our day. It is our responsibility not only to know what problems our world is facing, but to ensure that we are educating ourselves from the most reputable news sources so that we are guided by facts, not manipulation. Our consciences are also formed by participating in society with others, engaging in what the bishops refer to as reasoned, compassionate, loving dialogue, learning from others, and shaping those around us by our values. It is not our goal to defeat our enemies, but to seek a better world together. Something that our elected officials can ultimately help us with, which is why our civic duty begins with voting, but doesn't end there. Once someone is elected, regardless of whether we voted for them or support their stances, we have an obligation to remain in contact with them, communicating our values to them so that they will properly represent us. If the squeaky wheel gets the grease, then the Catholic voice must be the one squeaking. Which I think takes a bit of the pressure off of voting itself, reminding us that no matter who wins, there will always be work to do. There are no perfect candidates, and there is no problem voting for a candidate with a problematic view in one area if you're voting for them because of their virtuous positions in other areas. Voting for a candidate is not an endorsement of everything they do, but rather a weighing of the pros and cons, recognizing that more work will need to be done no matter who gets elected. As Catholics, we must inform our consciences, vote for whomever we think will provide the greatest overall benefit, and then work like mad to fix their flaws.